India and Pakistan, long-standing rivals, have clashed repeatedly, from the wars of 1965 and 1971 to ongoing tensions. While the conflict often seems rooted in religion or disputes over territory like Kashmir, the deeper, less visible struggle is over water. Kashmir serves as a critical water source, with the Indus River system originating or flowing through it. About 80% of Pakistan's agriculture and 30% of its energy depend on these rivers. Currently, India may not urgently need this water, but with northern India facing water stress and rivers like the Ganga and Yamuna suffering from pollution and overuse, this could change. For now, India leverages water as a strategic tool. Could India technically cut off Pakistan's water supply? If so, what would be the consequences? Now, if you're new here, don't forget to hit that like button if you liked the video, so I can keep making videos like this for you. The Indus River system, one of the world's oldest and largest, dates back tens of millions of years and has long been the primary water source for the region now known as Pakistan. Ancient civilizations like Mohenjo-Daro, nearly 4,000 years old, flourished along its banks, highlighting its vital role. This river system remains a lifeline for the region, without which much of the land would turn arid and barren. Originally, Pakistan relied on 5 major rivers from the Indus system, but under the Indus Waters Treaty, only 3 now consistently flow through the country. The primary river, the Indus, originates in Tibet, China, with an annual flow of approximately 3.5 trillion cubic feet of water. The Chenab River, starting in Himachal Pradesh, India, follows closely, contributing about 1.13 trillion cubic feet annually. The Jhelum River, originating in Indian-administered Kashmir, provides about 0.91 trillion cubic feet of water annually. Notably, all 3 critical rivers, Indus, Chenab, and Jhelum, flow through Indian-administered Kashmir before reaching Pakistan, making their control a key strategic issue. Under the Indus Waters Treaty, the other 2 rivers of the system, the Sutlej and Ravi, which begin in Tibet, China, and Himachal Pradesh, India, respectively, are fully allocated to India. These rivers do not pass through Kashmir, and their flow into Pakistan is heavily restricted. In Pakistan, the Sutlej and Ravi are largely dry, particularly outside the monsoon season, as India controls their waters, releasing excess only during monsoons to prevent flooding, rendering these rivers seasonal and unreliable for Pakistan. Pakistan receives roughly 6 trillion cubic feet of water annually from the Indus, Chenab, and Jhelum rivers. This water is crucial for irrigating crops, generating electricity, and sustaining the economy. Approximately 60 million acres of Pakistani farmland depend on these rivers for irrigation, supporting 80% of the country's agriculture, which accounts for about 25% of its GDP. Additionally, around 30% of Pakistan's electricity comes from hydropower, primarily driven by these rivers. India has repeatedly threatened to cut off this vital water supply from the Indus River system. If this were to happen, it could trigger drought-like conditions across Pakistan, as 75% of its farmland relies on this water. Such a cutoff could also deplete major dams like Tarbela and Mangla, critical sources of hydropower. Such a disruption would cause a 30% electricity deficit, impacting millions of people and industries, further straining Pakistan's economy and GDP. A severe water shortage could spark a humanitarian crisis, leading to food scarcity, widespread unemployment due to agriculture's prominence, and mass migration from rural areas to overburdened cities. This could fuel civil unrest and heighten tensions between provinces like Punjab and Sindh over water distribution. For Pakistan, this issue transcends politics and borders. It's a matter of survival. If India were to block the water supply, Pakistan would view it as an act of war. Such an action would have severe political, diplomatic, and economic repercussions for India. Blocking the water would violate the 1960 Indus Waters Treaty, a binding international agreement tarnishing India's reputation as a responsible regional power. Pakistan would likely escalate the matter to the International Court of Justice or pursue arbitration through the World Bank, the treaty's official mediator. Although the World Bank lacks enforcement power, it could collaborate with UN agencies and global financial institutions to exert diplomatic and economic pressure on India. If India is perceived as violating international agreements, development banks might delay or stop funding for Indian projects. Such an action could diplomatically isolate India, particularly among neutral nations and potential investors. Despite wars in 1965, 1971, and Kargil in 1999, the Indus Waters Treaty held firm, underscoring its resilience and significance. Breaching it now would harm India's global reputation and weaken its stance in future water-sharing negotiations with neighbors like Bangladesh, Nepal, or China. Additionally, India risks losing its exclusive control over the Sutlej River, which originates in China. A treaty violation could prompt China to restrict or manipulate river flows from Tibet, affecting water supply to India's northeast. In brief, India would face not only global criticism, but also long-term strategic losses. As both India and Pakistan are nuclear powers, blocking water could push tensions toward nuclear conflict. This would draw global attention, with world powers likely pressuring India to reverse its actions to preserve regional stability. Can India technically halt or redirect the three western rivers, Indus, Jhelum, and Chenab? In theory, yes, as these rivers flow through Indian-administered Kashmir. However, in practice, it's highly challenging due to the region's geography. These rivers traverse steep valleys, glaciers, and rugged mountains in an area prone to heavy snowfall, landslides, and earthquakes, making large-scale dam or diversion projects costly and hazardous. The river's immense water volumes would require massive reservoirs, tunnels, or bypass systems, which India currently lacks on such a scale. To achieve this, India would need to construct massive dams, extensive tunnels, and connecting canals, projects that could take 10 to 15 years and cost tens of billions of dollars. Under the Indus Waters Treaty, India is permitted limited use of these rivers for domestic purposes, hydropower, and non-consumptive uses, but not for large-scale diversion or storage that significantly reduces Pakistan's water share. India has built several dams on the Jhelum and Chenab rivers, but none on the Indus itself. These existing dams do not substantially threaten the overall water flow, but can alter the timing of water releases, impacting Pakistan's agriculture. In summary, India currently lacks the infrastructure to fully block or divert Pakistan's water. Any future attempt would involve extensive construction, easily detectable by satellites, and would violate the treaty. The geographic challenges are so severe that India has not built a single dam on the Indus River, which flows through high-altitude Ladakh, where the ongoing dispute with China further complicates any such plans. In essence, India can only restrict water flow to a limited degree, but a complete stoppage is nearly impossible due to geographic and political constraints. However, beyond India's influence, a more insidious threat looms: climate change. Research indicates that the glaciers feeding these rivers are shrinking, potentially reducing river flows by 20-30% by 2040-2050. Less water would mean reduced food production and electricity for Pakistan's growing population. The greatest threat to Pakistan may not stem from India, but from an existential crisis driven by nature itself. Now, if you like this video, check out this next video right here.